Hickok 45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee. And I need to quit lying about that because in winter, they're not necessarily beautiful. They're really not. They ain't bad, though. Beats a city street, really, and lots of buildings. Okay, so anyway, welcome to Sunday Shoot Around 9. Glad you're here. Glad I'm here. I'm always glad to be here. And we'll talk about this Python. That's one of the things we'll talk about today, as well as maybe some new gun laws and what else? Oh, I don't know. Probably something about the bug that's coming for us all. The what else? The box of history. I've been kind of accumulating, which is really my house, but things I've been digging around in. They talk about that, and who knows what else. Trying not to go too long. I've been going too long, but yeah, that's okay. It's my show. I can go long if I want, right? Even if nobody watches it, At least the squirrels, the birds hear me, and they enjoy it. No, I know you do. Many of you do, and I really, really appreciate you folks that watch these as all of our videos. But as I know that you are the loyal few for the most part, okay? And, well, there's a lot of loyal viewers. I didn't mean that. I meant that the folks who watch these are tuning in to get a special look at my insanity, right? So, anyway, been a pretty good week. And, we looks like we're going to get constitutional carry in Tennessee now. That'd be cool. Governor made an announcement this week. Tennessee Firearms Association been working on that for a long time. And be sure to join your state organization, okay? In Tennessee, it's a TFA, and Tennessee Firearms Association. Brilliant, right? Remembered that. And then also my county became a Second Amendment sanctuary county. So it's really kind of hit and miss, isn't it, across the country? Some states, some counties, some jurisdictions, some cities, you just have more freedom than in others. And I know people who hate guns think that we are just obsessed with firearms. But again, as I've talked about many times, you show me a politician who respects the Second Amendment, and I'll show you a politician who is probably leaning at least libertarian and respects individual freedom and liberty. That's just kind of the way it is. So firearms are kind of a litmus test. They really are. Yeah. Now some would not agree, like about half the population, I guess. When you look at who votes for whom, right? But anyway, a lot of us do think that way, and I ain't going to change, really. Okay, there's a lot of goofballs in the world, and I don't really care how they think, how they vote. Well, I care. We should vote more sensibly, act more sensibly, but can't control that. All we can do is control ourselves, our own mission, the things we do, how we operate in life, and most of us, I'll still say, I think we're still able to say, right, even though as crazy as society has gotten, most of us, most people, I think, act with integrity, 95% of the time. Nobody's perfect, but everybody most of the people probably do, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at. And there's always the real weirdos on the fringe. Think about the people at school, if you're in high school, middle school, you're at a university somewhere, your neighborhood, just at your job site, your whatever your profession is, wherever you are, wherever you spend most of your time. There is that 10%, whatever, 20%, 5%, 3% of people that you just wonder, wow, how did they get out of bed in the morning and make it to this location, and just have a lot of trouble with life and have a lot of trouble with people, and then they go home right in the evening, and they get on the computer, or at work maybe on their phone, but they go home, get on the computer, and probably hate other people, because when they're at work, they can only hate on you. They can only give you a hard time. They're that person in your department that never gets anything done. You're trying to get fired and you can't get them fired. They're just dragging down the company or the team or the group or whatever it is, the project. and they won't be there long, but they're just a monkey wrench and everything. And yeah, turn them loose on their own with their computer, and they'll tell them, how they act. But anyway, because add anonymity to that, and it probably gets worse, right? Or a fake name, username, or whatever. So I got off on that already, and I'm going to try not to do that so badly. So what we're going to talk about, I already told you what I talked about, and I'm talking about one of them, and that is the Python, and I'm going to shoot it first, okay? Yep, this is the famous Python. This is the one. Yeah, you've seen it. Does it still look the same? Same color, same barrel length? Yeah, it's serial number 2014, okay? So pretty early one, I guess. It's been back to Colt, well, back to Buds, back to Colt, back to Buds, and back to me. All right, and here it is. And I'll tell you about that. But I'm going to shoot it again. I've been shooting. I shot it yesterday. About 50 rounds worth. And knock on wood, hold your nose right. It didn't have any problems. That screw on the side seems really tight. I put a screwdriver to it, a good gunsmithing screwdriver, and just to test its tightness and whether it would loosen up. It didn't seem like it wanted to loosen at all, so I didn't force it one way or the other. And by the way, I've never had the side plate off, and wouldn't dare to take it off. I already talked about that. But so I'm going to shoot it, okay, again for you. So let's take a couple shots. 357 Magnum, all right? I've always taken some shots on this target. Woo. Yeah. Bowling pin, how about that? That should be 6 by my count. So, the cylinder turns, and that screw and that plate looked just like it did in the first video when I looked at it closely, but it might have been back a turn, a half a turn, I don't know. So we get empty cases, and I mean the action feels about the same to me. I can't tell any difference. People are talking about short stroking these things. It's just hilarious to me. I had several people write me a couple on Facebook. I saw a post saying someone posted on this video, a couple of people did, about quit short stroking it. Yeah, right. With most revolvers, as I have said, it's not a problem. They're hard to short stroke. It's never been an issue with new shooters that I know of, or anybody I know of. And I grew up with revolvers, double action, revolvers and single action. And with this one, for example, I would short stroke it for you, but it won't work. Try to get it to do what it was doing. Like the hammer, when you bring back the trigger to the reset, it then you pick up the hammer and the action and everything. If you don't get it all the way back, all the way back where it needs to be, and then you try to pull it, the hammer doesn't move like it was in the video. See, what was happening to me, I think some other folks, is they brought the hammer trigger all the way back, of course, and they cocked the hammer, but the cylinder was not moving. That was the problem. It had nothing to do with short stroking. But so anyway, it seems to work. Okay, it's working. It's been working. The screw has not moved. I don't know if they put thread locker on it or what, but I just don't know what they did. Okay, exactly. Other than tightening that thing up. Okay. Now I think maybe they did their thing on the mainspring. I can't for sure if it's a little heavier. In the video, they talked about putting a more powerful mainspring in these to make sure there's no light primer strikes, because some people were getting light primer strikes with some ammo. It might be a little heavier, might be, but it still feels fine. It still feels good. Okay, and when you pull the hammer back, it feels pretty smooth. Okay, it feels smooth, not pretty smooth. It feels smooth. Okay, so it feels fine. So I didn't expect to be reporting back on this particular gun. I really didn't, and didn't really expect to ever see it again or have it. Okay, so let me quickly give you the rundown on that. Sent it back. I kind of wish, backing up to the actual video, I could kick myself several times. Why didn't I get a screwdriver and check that screw before? It was late. We were wrapping up the video, and then the gun acting up. Well, got to get this one back to the buds and let them get it to Colt. That was just my thought. Because then we're not gunsmiths. We don't mess with them. Let the people who made it figure out what's wrong with it, really, unless it's something obvious. But I kept thinking over the weeks, why did I just check that screw? Now, that might have been all it was, and at least I still need to go back and get it fixed, maybe, but at least I would have known. That's what I think frustrated me. I'd like to have known, if that's what it was. I'd like to experiment it, tighten it up. John and I talked about that, tighten it up and see, okay, now it works. Let's see how loose it needs to be to not work, maybe even turn it like a quarter turn, half turn, loosen, and see, that might not be good for the gun to do that, but I'd been tempted to do that. So I would have learned a lot right there, wouldn't I? So I passed up that opportunity for that scientific experiment. And so anyway, but then it dawned on me later, well, I shouldn't be so hard on myself. I really wasn't that stupid, maybe, or ignorant, because I've had so many double action revolvers and Pythons and Smiths and everything, and I've never had an issue with screws loosening, for one thing. And then also, I would never have dreamed it would have that effect anyway, even if it were loose. Because, my Colt single actions, they loosen all the time. If I take one out and shoot it, like when I used to shoot matches with them and come home, that was just routine. Take my screwdriver, go around the entire gun, and almost every screw would be, a quarter turn loose, maybe more. That's just part of it, But with double actions, that's just almost never the case, So, and on those single action, it never affects, the operation at all, the action. And so that's the thing. I think if I had in my history, I had a double action revolver back even 20 years ago, and remembered that, I remember the screw was a little bit loose on the side plate, and it messed up the action, or something. I mean, that would have come to me, but that's just never been an issue. So it just wasn't something to watch for. But anyway, I wish I had looked at that. And it may have been more than that. I don't know what they did inside exactly to it, and that's what I wanted to tell you. So, anyway, sent it back to Buzz, put the note in there, said it needs to go back to Colt, explain what the issue was, and send it back to Colt. And then they did, and in the interim, John and I talked about. I told him, when they fix it, do we want to get that same gun back into a video? Because I don't know, do we want to do that? And of course, in the interim, we're having conversations at SHOT Show with Colt and everything, and then we're not so sure how much information's coming out and what's accurate and what's not, and the users were seemingly being blamed a little bit and that kind of thing. And we said, we don't really need to do that gun again anyway. We'll get another one and do it, and they'll fix it. I've been saying all along, I expect Colt to fix these and fix the problem and it not be a problem. So we decided now we don't really need to do this gun, but we want to do another one. We haven't done the short barrel one, so we'll get that and do that one, the 4 1/4, and that's been the plan. Okay, we'll do that one, and then, because for one thing, we don't feel like our role probably is to track a firearm through its repair history, whether it takes one trip back to the manufacturer or 2 trips, and that's just somebody else do that. I think it's probably more valuable, because we're on to other firearms. We'll do another one like we're planning to do and going to do, and then maybe a third one. And so I think it's probably more valuable to the viewers, to you all, to see a sampling of like 2 or 3 different Colts like this, rather than, okay, this one again. Is anybody going to be surprised if this one works? Duh. It spent a week or 2 or longer at the Colt factory. It's probably bulletproof. Haha, funny, huh? So, I mean, it shouldn't even need to be tested. Not what we do anyway. But anyway, in the interim, so that's what we were doing. We were waiting for a 4 1/4 to do another video with it. You see me, I've been saying that for a while. But then they put that video out, a week ago, I guess, and kind of explained what all was happening and what they were going to do to fix it, and changing the mainspring, and I don't know what they're doing with the side plate and the screw, short of or more than, say, thread locker, and what maybe they're even doing to the paw in there, in the hand. I don't know. Don't care as long as the gun works, really. But so whatever they've done. Lost my train of thought, but anyway, yeah, they were talking what they were doing to it in this video, and last week I told you, I think I linked to it even in the pinned comment to check it out. So after that, I talked to John. He's still on the road, but I said, well, they know what all the issues are. They're addressing them. That we can't seem to get a Python. We can't seem to get another one. We can't get the short-barreled one. They're just nowhere to be seen, like vaporware. We'll get one. Maybe we ought to, get the short-barreled one when we can, and then also get that one back before it gets away if Buds hasn't sold it yet. And so he agreed. And so what I did was I checked with Buds. Well, first I had told Colt that we weren't going to do that one, because they wrote me an email and said they'd get it back to us as soon as we get it fixed. And I told them the same thing I told Buds. We're not really interested in doing that one again, but we want to do another one, a different gun, and I thought it'd be more useful, for our viewers. And like I said, I know this one's going to work. It ought to. But so I wrote Buds just to see if they still had this one, if it'd come back to them yet, or if they had sold it, or if it was around, because we still want the 4 1/4 as soon as you can get us one, as soon as you get them in. And then if you still have this one, go ahead and send it back to us if you will, and we'll just combine them both in a video. Okay? So the video that Colt put out made us feel a lot better about the whole deal. And so, why not? If it's out there, we'll just get this one back too, have it with chapter 2. So it'll be a chapter 2, and we'll have this one and the short barrel one, and we'll shoot them both, and compare recoil or whatever, and have both videos, so, of the 2 Pythons that are out there. All right, so anyway, didn't expect to get it back, didn't want it back, and then changed our mind. Of course, battle stall, and then I've got my carry gun out here. Yeah, got the Talon grips on that. So we really appreciate people to support us. What else was I going to talk about? Well, I think I gave you the story on the Python. Anything I'd leave out on that? Yeah, I just think that, and you may disagree. I'm not like vehement about it. I just feel like, because I went back and forth on that, think, well, we'll get that thing back, and let them fix it, and then show you all that works. Okay, well, yeah, big surprise if it works, right? So I don't know. I still feel like probably the primary value and the most important thing for us to do is probably it'd be more valuable to get another one, a different one. I don't know. It'd be kind of like if we were reviewing Ford trucks or something, and we were reviewing a Ford 150, and we got one off the lot just like we do with Bud. They just pull one off the shelf, and I don't know. We're driving around, and it just had a odd sound to the engine. Something didn't sound right. A rod knocking or something, if that ever still happens in an engine. And but everything else was fine. So, well, we could send that truck back to Ford, say, hey, you need to look at this one, fix it. So they get in the engine, all their expert mechanics, and do you think they're going to fix it? Yeah, of course. And so then they send it back to us, and we show you that it runs okay now. Well, okay. I think it'd be more valuable to the people watching truck reviews probably to just send that one back to Ford, and then go pick up another one off the lot randomly, and let's just drive it around, see how it does, how it sounds, and maybe a third and fourth one, if they're showing up problems like that. You'd see more samplings of it. If another one came out like that and had that same problem with a valve or whatever, I would tell you a lot more, or if it doesn't, it would tell you more, So anyway, just my thinking, our thinking on it, okay? There's nothing like religious about it, just thought that was probably the approach to take on it. Okay, so anyway, the Python, and there it is. So, we have no reason to want to bash Colt or to do infomercials on Colt, just like any gun company. We have nothing, no arrangements or any, never any money or anything changes hands. Obviously, why I have to say that at this point. Gun companies, we stay independent, of course, totally. I just talked about anybody that supports us. You just heard everybody that supports us. Okay, is there anything in that list that we review? You know, I don't think you're going to hear us reviewing precious metals dealers, gun lubes, ammo. We don't really review ammo. You know, we don't review gun shops. We just don't review any of the stuff. We don't review gun grips. You know, so anyway, that's our life. That's the way we operate, and we try to operate with integrity, and you all know that. But so we have no reason to bash a gun company. Our philosophy, I've kind of established a line on that, I guess. We don't really want to make a firearm or company look better than it is or look worse than it is. You know, that's just this. It's the way we operate. And I've told you before, you know, if you've been around, we did a Ruger American rifle once, 308, that couldn't get the shells out, the cases out after about 2 shots. Couldn't get the bolt open. It just lock up, you know. And it was just so bad. You couldn't do a video on the gun. It would just been one of those bashing videos to get attention or something. Wait a minute. Would anybody do a video just to get attention, or do something fake, or make stuff up just to get attention? No, nobody would do that. But yeah, it'd been great. Oh, it'd been a big video. Probably got 1 million views, because I had a 2-before, just like I did at the shooting table when we were testing it, or you know, shooting it when I got it. I literally had to take a 2-before about this long. Sorry, Ruger, but I had to get the bolt open, you know, and pounding the bolt backwards to get it open and get that case out, you know. So I'd made great video, wouldn't it? And so we sent it back, you know, to Bud, same thing, and then we got another one, and of course it worked fine. And in that video, the second video, which I guess was the first video that you saw, of course, so it wasn't called Chapter 2, it was just the Ruger American, I guess, the rifle. Yeah, it had been. And you know, I told you about our experience with the first one that didn't make it to prime time. Okay, so we like to be transparent. So anyway, and I talk about that probably too often, but you know, it's a great place to be, and I do take some pride in that. I really do. It wasn't by accident. John and I have had to work at that, because we did take some guns from some small companies early on, and you know, it really wasn't competition for them and that sort of thing, and you know, we give them a lot of exposure. It's great to get the gun, you know, like the Bond Arms or something, or an AR-15 from a veteran-owned company or something, and do a video with it if it's something we thought y'all would be interested in. But we quit doing that even, and it's certainly in major manufacturers who've never taken a free gun. But I took a Lyman. I donated that. So anyway, we're in process. If we've got a couple of those like that we did take back in the day, we've donated, or in the process of donating them. But we just thought, well, since we operate so cleanly, let's just make sure, even if there's a case where it'd be no big deal to take a free gun, we're just not going to do it. We're just not going to do it anymore. So it's great to be in that position. It really is. And it's an enviable position to be in, because it's really tough to do that, because most of the firearms media, I'm not going to speak for other people. I know the stuff we see on TV historically, and the YouTubers, everybody can do their own thing. I don't get into other people's business, you know. But it's hard to do that and make a buck, you know, and keep it going. It is to do videos or on firearms and not have a relationship, a financial relationship of some sort with a firearms company or a bunch of them, you know. So we've been able to do that because we have such good support from others, you know, sources. So we do take pride in that, you know, and I think you are the beneficiaries, really. That's why we do it, so we can be objective, and you might even believe something we tell you. If I tell you I really like this Smith & Wesson, I really don't like this Glock, or I like this Glock, or I don't like this Ruger, whatever, hey, you can believe me, okay? You might not agree with me. I am biased on some things, right? But that's my bias. It's not because some force out there, is looking over my shoulder ever. Okay. All right. I spoke too much on that, but a lot of new people, gosh, thousands every week, thousands every day. And so, I probably should maybe remind people of that more often. I don't know, but I don't want to give that story every time I turn around. What else? Let's switch gears. Like I say, I've been cleaning out stuff, moving some closets and different things. And, you live in one place I've been here 34 years. And, you just, I'm into too many things. That's part of the problem. I really have too many hobbies. I'm into too many things. I've been to different careers and into computers and just everything else and all kinds of guns and reloading and you name it. I just have too many things. In digging all this stuff out, in fact, and cleaning things, I come across notebooks and page after page and folders after folder of things, and back to my teaching career, my publishing career, sales and marketing, different things I've done and places I've been and projects we were involved in, and and then just all the stuff with the Hickok 45 projects and just everything. I think, wow, all the spreadsheets I ran across a list. I should have brought that out of. I told you last week about starting a laptop program with my students, back in the early 90s. I ran across a spreadsheet that I had made in 93 or 4. Every student listed, the serial number of their computer, and I think their locker number, and yeah, and we had to work all that stuff out. The tag number on all their computer cases, because they were 7th graders. And so they had to have their tag on their computer hand all the time with their number. In case one was sitting around, we knew whose it was. You don't know whose it is. And so they could look it up and see whose it was, And so I would sort that by student and also by serial number and everything. And then their locker and where it was and should be. And it was a security issue. They were $2,000 computers at the time. And, they were all walking around with them like they're just a textbook. But anyway, there was that spreadsheet and all those names of those students. And I thought, oh man, the work I put into that project. And it's a miracle I haven't blown a fuse in my brain. I told somebody I should have just been a lumberjack or something, right? Just go to work every day and just work hard and not have all these details that I've had to keep up with, because I'm really not detail oriented. I'm kind of weird. I'm in a way I'm a bit of a nerd, because I enjoy messing with spreadsheets. I keep a lot of information on that, but then again, I don't know. Then again, I'm not really a nerd. Maybe I'm a dumb nerd. That's the problem. Most nerds we think of as being smart, having high IQ. But I've sort of been a nerd with a low IQ. And I think that's the issue. But I've been in so many things that I dig through this stuff, and it just almost wears me out to dig through it again. I wonder, how in the world I keep up with all that, And here's another whole filing cabinet and folders full of this stuff that I had to do. But anyway, back to something. Here's something I dug out. Some of you will enjoy this, I think. When we started that project, all the computers had Windows 3.1. Does that look familiar to any of you? And of course it was licensed. So we had boxes, one for every student, but they didn't have to open them or anything. We just kept them on a bookshelf. I remember that thing full of these, and I don't know why we kept them. We didn't really need them. And eventually threw them away. And I brought one of them home. I'd forgotten I had it in the bottom of a drawer covered up with stuff. But that's neat. It's never been opened. Windows 3.1. So if anybody wants to get rid of Windows 10 and just, kind of go old school, here you go, man. Here's one other little gem. This is me teaching junior English. You can believe that. I don't know if you can see that dude. Black and white. See, there was no color back then. The lighting's kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah, you can see that dude. Isn't he handsome? Look at that hair. Look at that hair. Pontificating. Probably Shakespeare. Now, I didn't do a lot of pontificating, a little bit. I mean, I really enjoyed teaching, but the thing I enjoyed the most was engaging these students and hearing from them, making them think. They couldn't hide in my class. They couldn't hide. They had to be prepared. They had to make a comment. An intelligent one, preferably. This one I've got kind of careful. This is another gem. This is the last of them. But look at this. back in '96, I was into the internet early on, of course, but it wasn't graphic at the time. But look at this. I bought this Yellow Pages, a guide to the World Wide Web. How's that? You didn't know the web was so small that you could actually buy a book, a Yellow Pages. A lot of you don't know what Yellow Pages are, right? The Yellow Pages, the phone books and everything was a big deal for a long time, most of my life. Well, this was the Yellow Pages of the World Wide Web. And, you might find that useful. Find you a website you didn't know existed. John gets a kick out of that because that was on my bookshelf for a long time. So the early days of computers and the web was a very interesting time. I don't know if there'll be another time like that. There probably will. There always is. And unless you were there, like a lot of things, you can't fully appreciate it. Technology is always changing, and the phones, and it's interesting and even amazing sometimes what even a phone will do. But we sort of have gotten to the point where it's hard to be pizzazzed. Oh my gosh, you know what Joe's got? He got a computer that, when's the last time somebody had a laptop that impressed you? Like, wow, I don't know, we've gotten them as small and thin as we want them. Too small, too thin. I still use a full size. I don't want these little bitty ones. Why? I might as well use my phone if I'm going to have a little bitty one, because I can type. Believe it or not, I can type 100 words a minute. You don't believe it? I always say I can type 100 words a minute, but I can only think 50, so I got a problem there. But but it was interesting because the microcomputers first available, and of course I don't go back. I didn't have a Radio Shack, Trash 80 or any of that stuff. Wasn't into gaming, and so I didn't have any of that stuff. Nintendo, some of those things. So it was like 80, 81 before I had a computer at all, and I went straight from no computer to a real one, an Apple II, okay, an Apple II. And because I could type, that was the attraction. My mother made me take typing in high school, and I guess she thought I'd make a fine secretary or something. But it was maybe the most valuable class I took in my entire life because it got me into computers, and because I was so impressed with how you could type on it and then print it out. You get rid of all that. Oh man, on typewriters it was a pain to correct mistakes and all that. So on a computer, it's not a pain, is it? And that's what got me into them. And then from that, I learned spreadsheets and do other useful things. Managed the territory when I was in publishing and just different things. As you can imagine, even though without the web, they were very, very useful. So, but it was funny too. I've talked about this maybe, how if you knew anything about computers, and really almost any time in the 80s, but especially the early 80s, mid 80s, you were considered a genius. It's so funny. A 5-year-old, knows today, or even soon after that, how to do the basic stuff on a computer. So many people back then couldn't even turn one on. They were afraid of them. The first 15, 20 years I was into computers and microcomputers, and I was with a publisher. We were publishing software, and I was traveling around the country showing that software, and all that was going on. Almost everybody I knew was, except for one of my best friends, was a programmer I had taught with, and he went into programming after that. But no one had a computer. None of my peers, none of my friends, and they were just like afraid of them. My parents and older people, especially at the time, they didn't want anything to do with a computer. That was scary. And if you're working on a computer, there's no such thing as working on a computer back in the 80s or 90s. Some of you all recall, they're closer to my age maybe, if you were actually, you could be busy really hammering out an important memo or important message or email or letter, whatever it was, and they're working on a spreadsheet, and people, they interpret that as like playing. You were just playing on the computer, because it was just like a big game machine if you didn't know about computers. You didn't know how to use one. So you had all that going, the fact that you messed with that computer, even though they were afraid of them, they were ignorant about them. But it was just an interesting time. It was interesting too, just because so many people, though, also were interested in learning about them, knew they had to, and I was in medical and the nursing area, in publishing and education. You needed to be learning about them, and everybody knew that. And so they wanted to see what you had software-wise, and they bought it everywhere we went. It was great. And and then they thought you were a genius because you knew how to use that computer. You imagine by thinking, me, a genius. But anyway, interesting times, and and I don't know if there'll ever be another time like that where you had such a gigantic section of the population who knew nothing about them, and yet and were afraid of them. But yet, you know, they weren't that complicated. You turn it on, load up the word processing, and type something and print it out. You know, and so many people couldn't do that. They just were afraid to do that. They didn't know how to save a file. That was just too crazy to them, you know. And I've had trouble with the students. You know, we always say how young people are better at that kind of stuff. The thing I've read into, yeah, they were good at playing games, Game Boys and all the things they were doing, and they all had laptops. So, you know, I got a PhD in what they could do. You know, because we wasn't a computer class, mind you. This was English class. So we were trying to actually literally incorporate it. Well, we weren't trying, we were doing that, incorporating into what we were doing. They were doing their work, their homework and everything, you know, on the laptop. And again, today, they're still doing it where I taught, but obviously in a lot of schools. But this, like hardly anybody else was doing it. And it was just a really new thing. Most of those kids didn't know. They'd messed with computers, some of them at home, others had not. So having to teach them how to save a file was a challenge, how to manage their files, just their homework. You know, keep it in files by date, whatever, by time. You know, that was the biggest struggle, you know, and taking care of their disks and things I talked about last week. So anyway, it was fun. Made me smarter, right? Okay, what else? Oh gosh, that's enough. Well, I'll wrap up with, and I've gone too long, I'm sure. That's just what I do. And I haven't even shot again. Let me shoot, and then I'll talk about a couple of things. I'm going to shoot this. I shot it yesterday. I'm going to shoot it, you know, off and on, just to make sure it's okay. But it seems to be working fine. And we will let you know if it's not. How's that? Let's see if we put one on the gong, won't you? I hear that ring. Let's try a hog. All right. Let's get him a double action hit. All right. Click. All right, seems to work. Yeah, I'd need some wider grips on that, that's for sure. I'm sure some people will come out with some custom grips. I just need more width. It comes back into my hand. You wouldn't think it'd make that much difference, just being a little bit thinner than the regular Python, the old Python grips. But it does, for me. It does. It does wider. So, still a good looking gun. And again, the attraction to me was, I think there were people in that first video, if it hadn't, you know what, if it hadn't a malfunction, probably I'd have been criticized. Oh, well, that was a dumb statement. I would have been criticized. Look, everybody's criticized, but for probably being too complimentary of the gun, you know. But I actually do kind of like it. And one of the appeals, ironically and coincidentally, is the fact that it is kind of pretty much a Python. It's not just a cheap version. They've done a pretty good job with it. I said that in the first video. I was pleasantly surprised. And then the bonus was the action was supposed to be more durable. And you could just go ahead and shoot the thing and not necessarily worry about the timing as much. Now, I know people go back and forth on that, but I think the Python was a firearm that would go out of timing for a lot of people. You know, I've heard from people say, no, it never happened to me. I had one forever and all that. But a lot of gunsmiths, I've heard from gunsmiths and a lot of people, just friends and everything, that, yeah, you just got to get them tuned up every now and then, but they're a great gun, kind of like a race car, you know. So a lot of people, I think, don't shoot them as regularly maybe as they would a Smith or a Ruger, you know, if they have an old Python, partly for that reason. And Colt talked about the action being more durable, more simpler action and everything. And dry firing is not supposed to be an issue at all with it, and it's just simpler. And the timing issues are gone. I think they even talk about that. And so to me, I thought, cool, that's cool. Kind of have a Python that's more like maybe a 686, and you don't have to baby it. You may not have babied yours, but so that was one of the appeals. And so it still is, if they've got that worked out. And I think they probably have. So we'll see. And yeah, pretty cool. So anyway, the one thing I was going to talk about, people have asked me about what's my take on the bug that's coming after us all. Well, I don't know how bad the bug will get. I don't know any more than anybody else. I could say, it's way overblown and it's not going to amount to anything. And then when it doesn't, I could appear to be a genius, right? Yeah. Or I could be a doom and gloomer, and if it is really bad, I could appear to be a genius there, right? So nobody knows for sure, but I kind of think it's not going to be an apocalypse or anything. My wife is a high-level nurse, and at a medical center for a long time. I know these pandemics, have come along, or the threat of them and the scare, and we are apparently pretty well prepared for that. The medical community for that sort of thing, for one thing. And so I don't know. And then of course, people just remember how many folks die from the flu every year. I just saw this morning, I think 18,000 people have died in this country from the flu just this season so far. And again, it's usually people that are medically compromised, they're old like me or whatever. They got an issue usually, not always, but usually to begin with. They're not healthy. To begin with, and that sort of thing. And this is much like that, I guess. So I'm not panicked. It pays to be prepared, to stay at home a while if you need to. I don't want to go out and catch it if it does become widespread. But the thing I was going to talk about is one of my favorite topics a little bit, is the media. Oh my gosh. There you go. Whenever somebody is in the business, that's the danger in our society, and the technology and social media and the increase in technology has made it worse by far, of course. It used to be only the media, the networks, or whoever had a TV station could do this. Now all of us can. We can all run around like the sky is falling and put it on camera, right? And because drama sells. Let's face it, drama sells. A lot of people have that emotional tug there that they love to see drama, and it just gets people's attention. It just does, whether it's fiction or not. And so the news media, they are pros at that. They always have been. I mean, that's their stock and trade. For one thing, the news. What is the news? Something that actually happens. News is sort of a subjective term, for one thing, isn't it? Like, what has actually happened today that you and I really need to know about? I don't know. Used to be when I was growing up, you had the 30-minute newscast at the end of the day, and they'd cover everything that happened that day. Pretty much, that was it. Okay, and even that had a lot of fluff in it and a lot of agenda, right? So you could probably whittle that down to about 5 minutes of things that actually are important, might concern you or me. But now we've got 24 hours a day. And so the people who read the news or comment or whatever, they especially have to have that skill of keeping people's attention, that special charisma, okay? That inflection in their voice that makes things way more important, or sound appear way more important than they are, right? That sounds like a negative way to look at it, but that's their job. If you interview to be the news anchor, or you're going to be in a newsroom, or you're going to be on TV or on radio, then they're listening. Your voice is really, really important, and how you talk about things. If you seem to have a special knack for pulling people in, making something more dramatic by the way you discuss it, or your voice, your inflection, that's really something that's not really that dramatic, man, they're going to love you. They're going to love you. you'll have a job, okay? Because that's really what you're doing. You're trying to get eyeballs to watch the news and come back and watch it again next cycle or whatever. Just like, why is it that the news, and of course my bottom line here getting at is that the panic that might be created is not by actually what happens, it's more so by the news media as usual, right? The sky is falling, people. Think about what happens if you live in certain areas of the country, especially like the South, Midwest. If it starts to, you have a little bit of snow or the chance of snow, well, that affects a lot of people, in different ways. And so what do? You start watching the weather reports. You want to know what's going to happen. Is it going to snow? How much? Where's it going to hit? There's going to be ice. I got to get the kids to school, or I got a trip planned, or I got to get a flight somewhere. Or what's that? What's going to happen here? So you're glued to the weather. So it behooves the news stations, the weather people, right, to dramatize that a little bit. How many times, man, if you lived in Tennessee, you know what I'm talking about. If it looks like there's even a remote chance we're going to get 5 flakes of snow, they talk about snow for about 2 days, 3 days, 4 days before that, okay? And then it doesn't come usually. I mean, 90% of the time it doesn't come to fruition. But what have they done? They have increased their ratings for 3 days. They've got your attention. They got your eyeballs, okay? And probably often they know that they're being more dramatic. They're not telling the truth even. That really a slight chance that we're going to get any snow. But they can justify that. They're trying, their job, their business is getting eyeballs. That's what pays the bills, and they get more advertising dollars if they get more viewers this week or tomorrow or today, okay? So they're going just like YouTube. They're going for clicks, okay? They're going just like I do. That's why, I put on my cleanest hat, and I try to be as handsome as I can be and sound intelligent to get clicks. So they're really in the business of that, and so the media. So there's different ways to do it. Like with snow, you can just be, and depending on how you phrase it, it's all in the words, isn't it? That chance of snow. We got a 60% chance. We got a 40% chance of maybe some ice and snow in the higher elevations or wherever it might be. So they can do that, and they literally make money doing that. Literally bring in more viewers, more eyeballs, and more attention. Just like doing video. I could kill an elephant on camera and get 1 million views or whatever. But or anything dramatic, drama sells. So what are you seeing in the news? You're seeing, I'm hoping they slow down with this, but as of this weekend, you're hearing, okay, there's 5 cases now, there's 15 cases in this country, and all that kind of thing, and we've got this many people, we don't know where they got it, and it's community-based, or they just sort of got it from the trees, maybe. You might be in danger, too. It behooves them to almost mislead us, and for us to all be more scared than we are, to be much more scared. If they can really scare us, what's that going to cause us to do? Really have our eyeballs glued to that station, right? So just be aware of that, young people especially. If you got some age on you, hopefully you know all this by now. You wonder why I'm even talking about it, maybe. It's just kind of an interest of mine. I've always thought, I can think way back in the 70s when I was teaching. I remember talking about that in class in connection with a story or something we were reading about media and commercials. And I would use commercials as an example of how you use the language. And it's just always been interesting to me, the media effect on us. It really has. And how they use the language to lie to us, basically, or mislead us. Not that I'm not a negative person, but it's just what you do if you're in that business to some extent. And like where they're saying, like 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this, or different things like that, that people just kind of fall for. Well, which dentist did you survey? And all that kind of thing. And were they paid, or were they under contract? So it's just good to be a savvy consumer of the media and not be affected by a charismatic personality. Okay, because we're all susceptible to that, and we love drama. We just do, and that to me is the biggest likelihood of a scary situation is just panic, overreaction. Yeah, and I think it wouldn't take a lot to cause a lot of panic. Really, the news media, they're again, that's their job almost, and the way they see it. So just keep a cool head, and hopefully it won't get that bad. But however far it goes, it's going to seem worse if you watch TV, right? So keep that in mind, and look at the numbers. I told my wife what they ought to do every morning. Yeah, go ahead and give the number of new cases. Okay, people have caught this bug or whatever. The number, where they are, if you want to do all that. How many people got sick and how many have died? Okay, in this country, just put the numbers up there. Okay, yeah, we've got 239 or something, and we've got 2 people who have died from it. Okay, yeah, put that on the left string. On the right string, show how many people have the flu, have caught the flu this week. Okay, in this country, and how many have died. Just put the numbers side by side. Just keep it real, as they say, and that would keep it in perspective, I think, for people. But anyway, I don't know anything about medicine. I'm not a genius. I know I look like one. I know too, though, that one thing that they don't seem to be talking much about in the media is, but they're showing a lot of people walking around with these masks on. Whether they have to get footage from China or whatever. And, they open all these stories, and these people, everybody's got a mask, and, and how many people are dying, and all that kind of thing. So, wow. And people who know, who are in the know, medical people, tell you over and over that those masks, unless you get one of those hot shot masks, it's almost a helmet, I guess, really seals up, and you have to be like a spaceman. But just these masks people put over their mouth, they don't protect you from it. They don't. Those are designed for people who have the flu or have whatever serious bug they have, for them to wear to keep from spreading it to you. Okay? So, I mean, really, you see somebody wearing one of those masks, unless they got other respiratory issues, they've got something pretty bad. So you have to assume they're trying to keep me from getting sick. They've got something. So it really is like a sign. I got something, and I'm trying not to give it to you. It's not something that I wear or you wear just to help keep from getting it. Generally, okay. So I've heard that, but that's not reported very much. But anyway, I'm rambling as usual. Imagine that, me guilty of rambling. So anyway, stay healthy. That's I think is a big thing, and eat right, and try to exercise and do the right thing, and don't go berserk because you've been watching TV. Okay, you've been watching the news. I mean, drama does it every time, and it's we're in a world really where it used to just be the news, commercials, but now we're all a part of it, and I don't know where we're going. It's an interesting world, and I'm part of it. Here I am in front of a camera, and we're doing this, several times a week, making videos, but we try to avoid clickbait. Try to avoid dramatizing something, over dramatizing something to get attention. To me, a fine firearm is pretty dramatic. Don't need to over dramatize it, and we don't do any of the other stupid stuff. We're not, trying to do crazy stuff to get attention, or just all the stuff that people do, and there's just no limit to what you can do. Everybody's got a camera these days. Everybody's got a YouTube channel, so you can do whatever you want, and you can get clicks. If you're dramatic enough, you can get clicks, just like the news media can get eyeballs, and it works. You're going to have an audience, even if it's a superficial, low IQ, even lower than me, low IQ audience, or high level of gullibility. You might have all that. You got a real mess of an audience, but you could have an audience really no matter what you do. I mean, the Flat Earth Society, you got people that not implying their low IQ. Hey, if you think the earth is flat, more power to you. But there's an audience for everybody. And if you're a dramatic actor, if you are very charismatic, you really pull in the people, perhaps. And that's what the news media does. Just why, if you haven't, surely you've noticed this. I'm not telling you anything. Even young folks, watch the way they present the news. Turn on it during the middle of the day or something. There's not anything particularly going on. What they're talking about the news and how they talk about it, the inflection and the voices and everything. And then ask you, what if you just maybe turn the volume down and you looked at the captions and see what they're saying? Would that be very important? Is that really news? Is that something of significance? And turn it back up and listen to how important they're making it sound. So that's their job, though. It's their job, and they're good at it. So anyway, nothing else I'm going to ramble about. I'm going to let you go. I'll shoot a little bit more. I'll bring this out every now and then when we get the other one in, we'll do a chapter 2. You all, because you watch the Sunday shoot-arounds, already will know the verdict pretty much. And like I said, though, you expected it to work, right? So we'll see. The screw has not loosened up, and in 2 days of shooting here, I think they probably put the mainspring on here, the new one. I think it's a little heavier, okay? And, seems to work. So for people that want one of these, you're dying to get one. I guess it's teasing because I think they're still just not very available. But that's just the way it goes. Maybe they'll catch up with demand, especially now that people maybe trust it a little bit more. Don't know. So I'm going to let you go. I've been talking too much. I probably should edit out some of this video. I did that on one of these shoot-arounds. I didn't mean to go for an hour, and then I did. But maybe I won't do that. I feel like I'm forgetting something important. There's nothing about John's schedule that I need to update. He'll be home in a day or two, I think, 3, 4, whatever. So anyway, just have a good week. I hope you get a chance to shoot. We'll be getting some warmer weather here now soon. We're into March, and you never know what you'll get in March, but most of the worst of winter, at least in this part of the country, is behind us. And you start getting some pretty nice days every now and then, and get them strung together even. Trees start budding out. I wait for my bamboo to start growing and up some more shoots. Every spring I look at my bamboo. I've got some bamboo. It's kind of a barrier between the road and part of the house and area and everything. I've been working on it for, I think I planted the first bamboo about 4 years ago, maybe. And it's interesting to watch if you've ever messed with bamboo. I know it's a scary thing. You got to have it contained. It'll get out of control. But it just, if you do a new shoot in like April, April's usually when they come up. It'll be about this tall. You'll see it coming up a little bit like that. And of course, the other stalks are they're like 10 feet tall maybe, or they're 12 feet, whatever. And this will come up, and then it'll be taller than those in about 3 weeks. That's how that stuff does. It plays leapfrog. Like whatever's there now is the height it's at. The new shoots are the ones that become the tallest shoots. It's really it's interesting stuff. So I'm hoping it'll make a nice blind eventually. So anyway, I'm gonna shut up, and we appreciate y'all coming out, and it's nice being able to keep up with you and rattle on about insignificant items, topics, and pretend that you're interested. But we'll talk to you later this week, next weekend. Make sure you're behaving yourselves, because some of you, I have a feeling, probably are not. Okay? You need to work on that. Some of you are not behaving because you're not shooting enough, and you need to do something about that. Okay? Even if it's bad weather, there's probably a range somewhere, indoor range. You could go rent a gun, take a couple of shots. Okay? It's just good for you. It's just good for you, really. It's therapeutic. That's why I do it. Life is good.